From the shadows of global headlines, a single name emerged, whispered with fear and fascination: Osama bin Laden. A man whose existence alone forced the world's most powerful intelligence agencies into a desperate, decades-long chase. Despite the unmatched resources of the United States, the trail he left was a labyrinth, a puzzle meticulously designed to mislead, to hide, and to endure. How could one man, operating from the margins of society, consistently stay several steps ahead of the world's most sophisticated intelligence apparatus? To understand this, we must first look at the world he emerged from. The late 20th century was an era of profound geopolitical upheaval. The Cold War had reshaped alliances. Armed conflicts erupted across continents, and ideologies clashed with the ferocity of history itself. Into this turbulent world was born a figure whose vision extended beyond the ordinary, whose ambition was fueled by a radical interpretation of religion and politics, and whose understanding of strategy was exceptional. Bin Laden did not act randomly. He calculated. He anticipated the moves of his adversaries, predicting their reliance on technology, bureaucracy, and predictable patterns. As a young man in Saudi Arabia, he inherited not only wealth, but also a network of connections that would later prove invaluable. But money alone was never his true power. His strength lay in patience, discipline, and the ability to exploit the vulnerabilities of powerful institutions. In the 1980s, during the Soviet invasion of Afghanistan, he joined the Mujahideen. Here, he honed the skills that would make him a ghost within global intelligence networks: logistical planning, the creation of covert networks, and an understanding of how to manipulate both perception and reality. By the 1990s, bin Laden had transformed from a regional insurgent to the leader of a global terrorist network, Al-Qaeda. His operations were not mere acts of violence, they were meticulously choreographed statements. Each attack was a message designed to create fear, attract attention, and provoke political overreaction. But the United States, with its unparalleled technological surveillance, extensive human intelligence networks, and vast financial tracking systems, should have been able to prevent him. And yet, for years, he remained elusive. The story of how he outsmarted U.S. intelligence is not a tale of incompetence alone. It is a study in subtlety, misdirection, and human error. Bin Laden understood the limitations of the institutions hunting him. He used them against themselves. Simple operational security measures, changing locations frequently, using couriers instead of electronic communications, and cultivating local sympathizers became his greatest shield. Analysts, reliant on signals intelligence, were blind to the human networks he meticulously nurtured. Every assumption made by the CIA, the FBI, or any other agency became a tool he could manipulate. Consider the case of his time in Afghanistan in the late 1990s. While U.S. intelligence monitored satellite images, intercepted communications, and interrogated captured operatives, bin Laden lived in a compound that offered nearly complete operational invisibility. Guards and couriers enforced strict security protocols. Outside observers, even those with sophisticated tools, saw only walls and barren rooftops. But inside, bin Laden conducted planning, indoctrination, and preparation for attacks that would shock the world. The genius, or infamy, was in the simplicity of his methods. It is here that history shows a critical pattern. Across the globe, intelligence agencies rely heavily on digital footprints, predictable communication channels, and conventional logistics. Bin Laden avoided all of them. He instructed his operatives to never use phones or the internet for sensitive planning, to meet in person, and to rely on trusted intermediaries. These human chains left almost no trace, and when traces were found, they were often too incomplete to act upon. Analysts chasing signals of his location were often several steps behind, creating a frustrating cat-and-mouse game in which the prey dictated the rules. The U.S. government invested billions, launched covert operations, and deployed hundreds of agents worldwide. Analysts pieced together fragments of intelligence, creating profiles, potential hideouts, and possible escape routes. Yet every operation fell short. Bin Laden's network was decentralized. He empowered lieutenants to act independently, creating multiple layers of security that prevented any single failure from exposing him. The brilliance of this design was its redundancy. Even when one branch of his network was discovered, the core remained protected. Shocking details emerge when examining the failures and near misses. There were instances where intelligence came within hours of locating him, only for the trail to vanish. One analyst would identify a courier. By the time operational teams mobilized, the courier had moved, taking any hint of bin Laden's presence with him. Another would track financial transactions, only to find accounts deliberately obscured, funds funneled through dozens of intermediaries across multiple countries. Every step forward required extraordinary patience, and even then, the man himself remained a phantom. His ability to manipulate not just operational security, but also perception cannot be understated. While the U.S. focused on obvious threats, bin Laden directed attention away from his true location. Misinformation, intentional leaks, and the cultivation of false trails created a fog of uncertainty. The intelligence community, trained to follow leads, found themselves chasing shadows, while the real target continued to orchestrate global operations from a hidden enclave. By the early 2000s, the world had witnessed the consequences of these evasions. The attacks of September 11, 2001, revealed the devastating effectiveness of his strategy. For years, intelligence agencies had failed to connect the dots despite multiple warnings, tips, and indicators. The world's most powerful nation had been outmaneuvered by a single individual whose approach combined patience, discipline, and a deep understanding of human and technological limitations. Yet even after 9/11, bin Laden continued to elude capture. The narrative of his life post 9/11 is a study in survival under extraordinary pressure. Moving from one hideout to another, relying on loyal supporters, and avoiding digital communications, he remained at large for nearly a decade. The intelligence hunt became a multinational effort involving cooperation, deception, and extraordinary detective work. The eventual discovery of his compound in Abbottabad, Pakistan, was a result not just of technology, but of painstaking, old-fashioned human intelligence. Years of tracking couriers, patterns, and behaviors that were often invisible to automated systems. The Abbottabad raid, executed with precision by Navy SEALs, was the culmination of decades of intelligence work, mistakes, and lessons learned. It marked the end of a pursuit that had become almost mythic in its difficulty. But the story does not end with his death. Bin Laden's ability to evade capture for so long offers enduring lessons about the limitations of intelligence, the importance of human networks, and the underestimated power of discipline and secrecy. Even today, the story resonates. Governments, agencies, and citizens alike are forced to confront uncomfortable truths that wealth, resources, and technology alone cannot always overcome strategy, patience, and cunning. The ghost of bin Laden continues to shape counterterrorism policy, intelligence methodology, and the collective consciousness of the world. The man who once eluded the most powerful nation on Earth serves as both a warning and a testament to the complex nature of modern conflict. And in the final analysis, perhaps the most haunting realization is this: for a decade and more, a single individual dictated the terms of global security. His evasion was not luck, it was design. His foresight, understanding of human behavior, and mastery of simplicity over complexity allowed him to achieve what many deemed impossible. In studying his life, we see the intersection of ideology, strategy, and human error, a convergence that shaped the 21st century in ways still being understood. History often rewards the bold, but it also punishes the predictable. Osama bin Laden's story reminds us that intelligence is never absolute, that power can be circumvented, and that sometimes the most dangerous adversaries are those who understand the rules better than anyone else. As the sun sets over the mountains of Afghanistan, over the deserts of Pakistan, and over cities far removed from conflict, the echoes of this pursuit linger. The world moves forward, lessons are learned, and yet the mystery endures. How one man, operating in the shadows, managed to outsmart the greatest intelligence apparatus in human history. Perhaps the most sobering truth is this: the chase ended, but the questions remain. The strategies, mistakes, and insights from this pursuit continue to shape the modern world. In understanding him, we understand not just a man, but the vulnerabilities of those who believe themselves invincible. Osama bin Laden is gone, yet the story he left behind is a mirror, reflecting the delicate balance between knowledge and ignorance, action and inaction, pursuit and evasion. And in that reflection, we are reminded that history is rarely simple and never predictable.